Mailbox Sports. Getting the live chat started. Let's see what the chat has in store to bring forward for delivery. And if in fact they do not have those things, the postman brings the mail to you every day on time and in full. Let's go ahead and get started. Hello. Welcome in to Mailbox Sports, where, as you know, we always sort those stacks, stamp out the truth, and we're going to always go ahead and deliver those hard-hitting facts or analysis. Welcome in. Today, we are going to get started talking about the building blocks that the Chicago Bears already possess on their roster as we move into free agency, transition tags, and franchise tag portion of the NFL's offseason. I am your host, Mailman, the guy who always gets the delivery done, even if he gets his words tangled up. Make sure that mic is working and so eloquently speaking truth into these things. I am flying the ship today, very solo, Postman 1914. I appreciate anyone who pulls up, anyone who catches the live stream, anyone who catches the replays, anybody who gets an opportunity to go ahead and check out those shorts, videos, and all content that we put out here on Mailbox Sports. We're going to get that cup changed to blue for one, because I don't like red cups. But we focus in on the screen now. We are in a little bit of what I call Bears TV. Bears TV, my apologies, is going to be the place where we get to take vision to a few things as opposed to have a roundtable discussion. Sometimes, why have a person to go back and forth with you about things or to give you their opinion when you can sit there and give out one yourself? May not be the way in which we want to run the show, but today, being able to run this plane here clear off the runway and into the sky is what we're going to try to do. So without further ado, for me, show will be short today. I have worked a total of 3 days in the last 10. My body has not been acclimated to walking up and down these streets, up and down these stairs. Not to mention that the snow has been absolutely crazy. So that, if you do not know, trudging through the snow, up and down stairs, and trying to find places to park when it's snowing outside with a mail truck, a pretty uphill task to say the least, but you get paid to figure it out in different ways, and so we're going to find out things that pay us in other ways. And so we're going to get right into the payees. We got building blocks for the Chicago Bears. You got guys like Caleb Williams, obviously, first and foremost, and I hope he's a long-standing building block, meaning I need a 10-year quarterback, but we'll get into that portion of it later on. When you talk about guys like DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Donnell Hill, when you speak about the offensive guys that I would presume to be building blocks, you speak about guys on the defensive end such as Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon. I love Kyler. I think Kyler's the next person to get paid, but that in itself would be something they discuss this season or next. And the question mark for me, even though I know he deserves to be a part of that building block dynamic, is one, Jaquan Brisker. I will take to add in honorable mentions like TJ Edwards, that I think will be a mainstay for the linebacking core. And I think that those are the guys that have the best opportunity to stay in. Also, in just a random bit of news, I do not know why, and it may be because I mock a ESPN show that I watch often. ESPN or listen to. I don't watch them unless I'm on YouTube. But anyhow, um, when David Kaplan and Jonathan Hood get together, anytime you do this right here, you have to clear your throat. Jonathan Hood proceeds to tell Cap, because Cap is usually a offender, that's a fine. I would be fined several times today because for some odd reason, when we get out here in these YouTube streets and it's time to talk sports, even if we talk about myself, we tend to get some sort of a clearing of the throat. With that little random innocuous detail, we get back to the guys that I perceive as building blocks. I think that you can limit it to those guys. People such as Braxton Jones may be relegated to swing tackle. You may solidify your position as being a left tackle, which is what I perceive to be the logical step. Or you can look to seeing if guys like Cole Kmet will continue to be an ascending building block, meaning they get him back right, get him back into the mode of being a pass catcher in the ways and he's best being utilized. I think Ben can do that for him. And when you think about the guys that you have as building blocks, you think about the holes that you need to fill in your team and the things that you need to go ahead and replenish, whether that be via trade or free agency in this case, because we hadn't gotten to the actual portion of the draft. You think about, obviously, yesterday, the transition tag was something that came out and was able to be applied to players. The transition tag is much like the franchise tag in ways in terms of the amounts of monies that you may be able to command. However, the difference in the two is that the franchise tag allows me to have a play setter of a median top percentage of the position itself in terms of pay, and they add a percentage to that if I'm not mistaken. And so that gives the team a window to negotiate with you, or at least it should allow them to, in good faith, have a window to negotiate. If not, you can sign that 1-year tender and continue to play with the hopes of going back to the negotiating table with that team or another in the next year, meaning you would be an unrestricted free agent. The transition tag operates in a way in which the team can tag you and allow you to, you and your representation, to go out, seek a trade, or I should say seek a contract offer from another team. If said contract offer is not matched by your current team, you are obviously going to make the transition to the next team that gave you the offer sheet. However, the team that is acquiring you via free agency will have to compensate the other team in the form of draft picks. I'm not sure the exact specificities to those draft picks, but I do know the draft compensation is something that has to be accounted for. So it's just something to keep your eyes out for in terms of the ways in which the tag can be used. The Bears, specifically in terms of the things that I've heard, do not have a person of interest to utilize a franchise tag on or transition tag this year. So while you got guys like Tevin Jenkins, and that's the guy that sticks out and comes to my mind most notable in terms of guys up for a deal that would have that tag apply, don't think they're going to use it. So if you think about or try to contemplate the opportunities that the Bears may have in the free agent market, one of the most sought after and raved guys on the free agent market, or soon to be free agent market, is speculated to be Trey Smith, guard for the Kansas City Chiefs. And there had been some Vaseline, that it was going back and forth as to whether or not this guy was going to remain in Kansas City. And as of yesterday, that was the new set of details. Today, that particular set of details have been either shifted or debunked in the fact that Kansas City is not expected to franchise tag or transition tag Trey Smith. So with that being said, that would indicate that he's entering the free agent market. Let's see what his suitors look like in terms of teams. Let's see what that price tag is going to look like. Let's see if they actually make a splash. And when they, I mean the Bears, and go out there and sign a guy like him, because he is allegedly one of the higher free agent priorities on their list. That would be something that helps to fortify the offensive line and gives you, in some ways, less to concern yourself with your large capital in terms of the offensive line in the draft. Sorry. And also, it gives you bona fide professional performance, a pedigree that's already there, and it gives you the opportunity to know that the person in which you've acquired, at least up until this point in his career, has produced, can produce, and will produce. So, a guy like Mr. Smith that's high up on lists. The center, Dahlman from Atlanta, is one of those guys that rings a bell as far as things of that nature. We're going to go through this right here and try to see if Adam Schefter said it's hard to imagine him using the franchise or transition tag on him. So as we scroll through this article here, I try to see if there's anything else that gives me a bit of juice. We know the tag numbers come out already, so that gives the Bears and other teams the opportunity to know what money they have to spend. Also, if you would like, we are going to go through some Bears free agent targets, or at least guys that could be potential targets. And these free agent targets have a connection to the Bears coaching staff already. So in some way, shape, or form, these guys have already crossed over. We can go through this video and listen in for a bit. And I do believe that we can follow along with those names long enough where we don't have to repeat them ad nauseum. But we won't do it in length. We'll go ahead. This is Lauren Cox of Cox Sports One. I want to give credit to the person who's doing this right here. But let's go ahead and see if we can get some. We're going to get past ads. Pay homage to the ads out here, people. Pay homage to people's ads. Ad revenue on all streaming platforms and regular platforms is, how people get their bread. So let's go ahead and thank you, Honda. And now we in it.
I want to take a look more broadly beyond just Trey Smith. A couple of offensive linemen I want to point to here. Perhaps the most obvious one is going to be Brandon Zeitler of the Detroit Lions, their veteran right guard, who's been there for a couple of seasons and worked with Ben Johnson and the rest of the Lions assistant coaches. I think he would be an easy plug-and-play veteran starter in this Bears offensive line that shouldn't cost too much money. But he does turn 35 in March. Before free agency starts, I believe he will turn 35 years old. So it's a little bit of a different kind of approach for someone like Kevin Zeitler. Same thing for Brandon Scherff of the Jacksonville Jaguars, a one-time Pro Bowl caliber offensive guard, is maybe no longer quite at that level anymore. And he too, 33 years old, not a young player who's going to be a long-term cornerstone of your offensive line, but a veteran you can sign who would lock down one spot and be sure to give you something consistent and experienced there. Because much like with Eric Bieniemy, the Bears also hired former Jacksonville Jaguars offensive coordinator Press Taylor to be the Bears passing game coordinator.
Yeah.
And so Press Taylor's worked with Brandon Scherff for multiple seasons, has seen how Brandon Scherff leads a locker room, how Brandon Scherff works out in the weight room. I mean, all the in the meeting rooms, how he watches film, the habits he has, so that Press Taylor can tell Ryan Poles about what Brandon Scherff would be like as a free agent. Eric Bieniemy can tell Ryan Poles what Trey Smith would be like as a free agent. Ben Johnson can obviously tell Ryan Poles what Kevin Zeitler would be like as a free agent. And so they can have more information and make more informed decisions about whether or not to sign these players. One other offensive lineman I'll throw in there real quick is Cam Robinson if the Bears want to go out and upgrade the left tackle position, Cam Robinson may be the best option on the free agent market right now. Cam Robinson played for the Minnesota Vikings last season, was traded to the Minnesota Vikings, but spent the beginning of his career and was drafted by the same Jacksonville Jaguars, where Brandon Scherff is and where Press Taylor was. So the Bears will have similar intel on most of a handful of the real top options at guard and tackle, plus some other pretty decent options here for the Bears. So
let's keep that in mind. Now, thank you, Press. Thank you, Lauren Cox, for telling me about Press Taylor and everybody else over there. Now, when he speaks about the way in which those guys have connections, you wonder if those connections, give you insight to the player that other people don't necessarily get so soon. Also, it gives me a wondering as if those guys would give more consideration financially and on the whole to coming to a team like Chicago, just because maybe a former position coach or maybe just somebody that you were comfortable with in the building when you were at those other organizations. Maybe those guys allow you to have a place of comfort in your transition to a new team. And they all offer different levels of experience. So I would assume price tag is different for all of them. The fit or the need may be slightly different. And just the personality overall in terms of how they mesh with what's going on. But those are guys that obviously they give you some lead into about people that they've already, I guess if you want to look at it this way, people they've already kind of had a working relationship with. So at that point, it's always good to kind of have an inside track per se, where you can go ahead and get a little bit of conversation going with said targets, things like that. Always, I think, is going to benefit any team. But those are some of the guys, at least on the line, that are tied to some of the new staff. So we get to see if those guys actually have any type of cachet when it comes to laying down the gauntlet there. We'll figure it out. Maybe, and maybe. I don't know. With that being said, and we talk about tag candidates, I don't think the Bears will have any tag candidates, and we're going to continue to use other sources to generate the way in which we discuss these Bears and everything else Bears related right now. So obviously, we have some free agent desires, and most of those for me would be lineman based. However, they do have some top 25 free agents that they talk about on Bleacher Report, and I want to go through that list and see if any of these guys would maybe pique your interest, because for me, a couple of them outside of the line, offensive and defensive, when I say the line, a couple of them give me some things that I want to kind of lock in on. This guy had a nice article that, or video, I should say, that I got to read today. The only issue that I had with it for me right now is that it talks about some contingencies and portions of his draft plan, and I don't want to discuss draft plan just yet. Not me. Now, what we are going to do, look at this guy right there. Hayes, CEO out there. Don't know him, but I know him. Gotta stay hydrated, people. Best landing spots. We looking for young free agent targets. They got some Bears free agent targets out here. But I want to see if they still have. Who is the one current free agent you hope the Bears re-sign? Good question. We will get to that at the end maybe for the end of our day, we'll try to figure out who do we think the Bears should re-sign if they re-sign any of their free agents. I'm not really certain. For me, if I had to say, I'll tell you at the end. As we said, the salary cap, $281 and a half, I should say. That $500,000 means something. 2025, so hopefully it's all the way to 281, or it could be the 277. That $4 million is difference in a player. We shall see. Because this is a good question for the day while I'm looking down. It says, is Braxton Jones underrated? I do believe he is. And they out here being real unscrupulous with what's going on. So we'll look at free agent targets through this video here.
The HGTV Smart Home Giveaway 2017.
Ads.
You could win a prize package worth over $1.5 million.
They ain't my ads, so somebody got to eat off these ads, y'all. Top free agents. And
free agency is less than a month away, and the Chicago Bears are formulating their plan for who they're going to sign, what kind of negotiations they want to go after. And so we're going to look at some of the different free agent targets for the Chicago Bears. And specifically, I want to hone in on some players that have strong connections to this Chicago Bears new coaching staff. As Ben Johnson takes over, Dennis Allen comes in as as defensive coordinator. You've got guys like Press Taylor and Eric Bieniemy on the offense. You've got a bunch of new coaches, all from a bunch of different backgrounds that all have connections to some upcoming free agents, players who played on other teams but worked with the current Bears coaching staff, so that this offseason, perhaps Ryan Poles could go out and get some guys that this coaching staff already knows, with the idea that it can reduce some of that risk in free agency. If you're signing a guy that you at least have some familiarity with, that gives you more trust in that signing working out, compared to like the
Nate
outside
Davis
free agent who you have no connection to, and you're just relying to what you saw on tape. So I want to go through some different offensive linemen, some different defensive linemen, some skill position players as well. But then also, like, hey, you don't always land the big fish in free agency. Perhaps some backup options if the top guys don't end up becoming available. My name is Lauren Cox. I'll be your host today in our Bleacher Report live stream. You can hear me in these Bleacher Report live streams every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time in the Bleacher Report app. So same time, same place, every single week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can follow me on Twitter at Cox Sports 1. And you can hear me 5 days a week on the Locked On Bears podcast on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I think there's a couple of obvious big name free agents out there that have strong connections to the Chicago Bears. And then there's some other guys who might not jump out at you right away as being like, oh yeah, he did work with that coach on that team together. So there is a familiarity there, even if it's not, immediately obvious.
We have any
for example, of course,
the last guys?
Any player who is a Detroit Lions free agent will have strong connections to this Bears coaching staff.
That's right.
With Ben Johnson having been the offensive coordinator there, the Bears brought over a handful of Detroit Lions assistant coaches with because of the coaching staff. And I want to start first with the offensive line, because, like, of course, the number one free agent name you'll see anywhere around Chicago Bears predictions and hopes and dreams of Chicago Bears fans is Kansas City Chiefs guard Trey Smith. He's expected to be the top offensive lineman on the free agent market if the Chiefs don't indeed use the franchise tag or the transition tag on him. He's expected to receive a contract north of $20 million a year. And so, of course, the Bears are going to be interested with or without any sort of connection there. But it's worth noting that the Bears hired Eric Bieniemy as their running backs coach. Bieniemy, of course, was the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs for a number of seasons, including 2 years with Trey Smith on that Chiefs offensive line. And so Eric Bieniemy should have a better idea than anyone else outside of the Chiefs organization what type of person Trey Smith might be, what kind of work he puts in away from the field, how he carries himself at practice and in the weight room, what he's like in meeting rooms, like all these little sort of intangible or off-field questions about a free agent that you can't just see on tape. And that's where the coaching connection advantage comes in. It's not as though it's then a guarantee that, oh yeah, that they're going to sign this player or that this player would be a good signing, but it gives Ryan Poles more information about these free agents than he would have otherwise if he didn't have a coach with a previous experience with that free agent player to inform whether or not the Bears want to sign a player or how much they should be willing to sign a player based on how he's handled previous experiences with that coach. And so if we want to take the Minnesota Vikings last season was traded to the Minnesota Vikings, but spent the beginning of his career and was drafted by the same Jacksonville Jaguars.
I don't like him. He talking too much. And he ain't talking about too much or nothing right now. And so I believe he kind of talks about those guys again. I'm going to find the article I spoke of, and we are going to wrap up with talking about some guys that we desire in the free agent market. Because it's important to me not to talk about all of the free agent people that don't necessarily pertain to the Bears. I want to talk about all the guys that I think we could get out here, because I want the top of the top. The Bucks not tagging Chris Godwin. I don't know that I would necessarily think to have anybody that season. I think we got enough in the receiver room where you can just add through the draft later on if you wanted to. AJ displayed his uniform. Overlooked vets. Every team must prioritize. Let's see. We'll go through these. We'll go through these guys and see if anything appeals to us. The under 25 guys still gonna be my desires, but let's check these guys out as I look into it at a glance. So, overlooked veterans that every team must prioritize. These are specifically being looked at for the purposes of the Bears. So if I don't think they fit the Bears, then we will not actually go into them. We will pay attention to guys like Baron Browning. And while I do not know the scheme in which the Cardinals play in, so I don't know if Baron fits the scheme of the Bears, but they say injuries have hindered the career of the 2021 third round pick, who converted from being an off-ball linebacker to an edge defender in his second season. So he's never played more than 14 games in a season right now, and he only got 11 and a half in 51 games. He got 11 and a half sacks. And he got traded from Denver. That's because they got Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper. So while he did only have 2 sacks in 8 games for the Cardinals, he had 3 tackles for loss, 10 quarterback pressures, and he got a relatively inexpensive cap number in terms of where his value will be projected at 5'4". You got to like something like 5'4" right there. So while they say he's more of the Eagles and Falcons fit, I don't know that we play similar defenses to those. So they might be a better fit for him, but still an edge that may be somebody to pair up and develop himself alongside Montez. Rico Dowdell, running back. While I won't say that DeAndre Swift won't be a potential ship out trade cut candidate, because in my estimation he could be a trade candidate. I don't think they cut him, but they just very well may cut him. I could see them looking at guys like a Swift or Terrell Edmonds or somebody to that degree and trying to make the switch. However, Rico Dowdle, or however his name may be pronounced, good sir, don't think the Bears will be looking for you in free agency. We anything with drafting a running back in the later rounds. Dante Fowler Jr., edge from the Commanders. While I still want us to draft, like with these guys, these are older guys, allegedly, veterans. He is an older guy. I would love for the Bears, if they were to sign a guy like Dante Fowler and a sack artist. He only signed a $3.3 million deal last year. He had 10.5 sacks. He played all games not the Commanders, my bad. He played for all of them all last year. So in my estimation, somebody like him, if he is scheme averse, or he's the person that can play opposite of Montez while you get your first year rookie up to snuff and, kind of have him integrated to a rotation to kind of grow with guys like Austin Booker, then you sign him. If he's not the type of guy that fits your system again, the type of edge is really contingent upon what we do as a team and how we want to use guys. So, but he is playing a position of need, so would be somebody that I would keep on the watch list per se in terms of people that you might want to kick the tires around. Will Hernandez, older guard, and while he may not be the guy that I want to put in my starting lineup even, I still might want to draft a young guy. This guy is a quality guard and veteran that's turning 30. I would love to, kind of have him on my team. They say he got a projected market value of $4.3 million. So that could be, as they say, a veritable steal. And that means highway damn robbery for 4.3 as a depth piece in case anybody gets hurt. Because we know, let's say somebody, when we talk about free agents in-house, if Tevin is retained, somebody like this guy right here may be the exact person that you need to stay around and help out. And wouldn't you know, potential fits they give you, Dallas Cowboys and Chicago Bears. Depth piece for me, I wouldn't want him to be the starter, but he is a guy that you can kind of watch and look forward to filling a need in terms of depth along your offensive line and be a quality player. Sebastian Joseph Day, defensive tackle, Tennessee Titans. Now, fans can expect to see. Been a long day, only a 10-hour day today, but still long enough where you got to get one of those. Don't worry about me. We're going to be just fine. It says fans can expect to see teams trying to emulate Philly's plan for defensive success because Philly absolutely obliterated the line of Kansas City. And that included my guy Trey Smith. But they had their way, Lord. They had their way with him. And, I think most teams want to get that dominant guy in the middle. And while we don't have a guy like Jalen Carter that's going to keep progressing in the middle, we need to go out there and get somebody that maybe not Christian Wilkinson from last year. This is getting ridiculous. My apologies, and my apologies again. But this guy right here, Sebastian Joseph Day, going to turn 30. Going to be a dependable stonewall in the middle to kind of take up space. And they say 17 games last year, 12 starts, 44 tackles, 18 solo stops, and 2.5 sacks. That's 8th among 219 interior defenders in run defense by Pro Football Focus. Last year, we were dead last in run defense. They say Buffalo Bills and Frisco, and I know Andrew Billings is coming back. If you addressing that position in the draft, then that's fine by me because you don't need to address it any further than Javon Dexter, Billings, and the draftee. But Zach Pickens will not cut it, and in my estimation, will be cut. Has to be cut. Should be cut. And a $4.5 million value. Definitely think that's a guy that you could sign to not only enhance your run defense, but once again, we talk about this depth, a reasonable hit, considering you got about $65 million in cap space right now. And I don't know if that's been adjusted due to the new cap or what you will save if you were to cut anybody in specific on the roster right now. There are a couple people you can cut and save a lot of money. Just saying. Elijah Molden. While I do not think that defensive back is of utmost importance, we've been known to find steals, and if the Bears front office thought he'd be a bargain to add to the room, who would know? I wouldn't care. But for $6.2 million, I might just want to go ahead and draft the next one. I know Reggie Stewart already got picked up, but you still got other guys out there that will continue to be a part of that pipeline, and I think we can go ahead and make that happen. Levi Onwuzurike. He a defensive lineman. I don't know. He an interior defender. Now, I think Ben going to have a defense that's similar to that, so Onwuzurike is a guy Ben's familiar with, but he has injury concerns, but he's a second-round pick. So for me, might be a guy you can go ahead and keep your eye on. Due to his past injuries, they say Onwuzurike has a projected market value of only $4.5 million annually. I think that in itself could be a steal. And a guy that's familiar with somewhat of a scheme that, or at least familiar with the coach. I wouldn't know if he's going to be familiar with Dennis Allen's scheme, but I'm assuming that you want to play something in the same vein as the guy that you had alongside you last year on the other side, Ben. So we'll see. Again, a lineman that's a guy you can keep your eyes on and maybe look to see if it has a potential fit. So, and let's see. Last but not least, Jedrick Wills Jr., offensive tackle from Cleveland. Now, from what I've seen of this guy, I've not seen very much good. And so they say offensive tackle, the only position on our team could be left tackle. So, let's see. It says, look, there's no getting around the fact that Jedrick had a rough 5 seasons. 5 fucking seasons with the Browns that he had that was rough. Never established himself as an above-average left tackle. Limited to 13 games over the past 2 seasons by knee injuries. He was ranked 75th in pass blocking. And the notion to why we should keep him is that he's still a top 10 draft pick, or former, I should say. 57 starts on his resume, and he's only going to turn 26. So you've been in the league 5 years, but you started at 21. So could we say some youth, the Cleveland curse, and some other things may have contributed overall to his lack of getting things out of him? I think that for the money, especially as a depth piece, this is an absolute priority to go and pick up a guy like this guy right here. Maybe he can become your swing tackle to replace Larry Borum. Maybe he can develop himself and make Braxton Jones the swing tackle if he does enough. He has the prototypical frame. He was a top 10 pick as an offensive lineman. And the Bears have a 10 pick right now, and they are hoping that we use or draft a lineman by most people's merit or account. That's what they want us to take. So imagine getting a former top 10er for what they say is $2.2 million annually. Absolute steal. 25 years old. And he'll only be 26 in May. I think you sign this guy. Draft lineman. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it. Nonetheless, with that being said, if you're bringing in people like this, we're going to have other people be sacrificed, sometimes those sacrifices have to come in the form of other players. For the life of me, I cannot figure out why we got that going on. That's what we're going to say. I know that. That's what we know. Absolutely, we can't figure that ish out. But what we can figure out is if we got people like Jedrick Wills, anybody else coming in here to this team here, and you know you want them to come on in, and that's fine. Other people have to go into the pit. And so for me, you talk about a person like a Tevin Jenkins. And you say, damn, Tevin, it's the pit for you. Now, I told y'all we was going to be able to get everything together. And wouldn't you know, I was setting up a few surprises for the crew. My main power source got shut down instantly in my office, and things went totally haywire, so it didn't save. Not to mention, both of my co-hosts end up sick this week, so we wishing those guys get well. One of them is on the mend, but now he is currently activating mama's boy mode, and I'm being tongue-in-cheek, letting mama and wife nurse him back to health. You know, like an episode of Martin or something like that. So, shout out to Mr. Bluefax. Shout out to the Shy Guy Ty. Hope both of them are feeling well. We will have more in-depth discussion about free agent potential signings in the next episode. We will also get to tackle if any new events have happened in terms of free agent tags. When I should say franchise tags, the transition tag. We should be able to just deduct whether or not certain people are going to be up and available, as March is the peak season of free agency and free agent signing. So as we lean into the last days of February next week, we will pay close attention to finding out exactly what type of guys what guys are potentially signing with what teams. And we will also be able to kind of use the free agent tracker that I used to watch back in the day on NFL Network or NFL.com to kind of give us a little bit of insight into where guys may be leaning towards going, where they've made some verbal agreements, where some guys have already put pen to paper, so on and so forth in the next week. With that being said, once again, I'm hoping that I'm not getting sick. But we'll talk about that on another day. I appreciate everybody pulling up. If you have not done so already, please go ahead and like and subscribe to the page. Like the content. It is important that we try to get these likes in tow for every live event or any replays and things of that sort, because your boy is on a partner push with my boys, and when we are at full strength, we want to see everybody in a place giving content suggestion, giving questions that they have about their team or our team, if in fact we share the same team, because if that's the case, we share the same dream. We got free agent desires. I would personally like to see us finagle a trade that would only render maybe the second round pick of the Panthers and maybe a pick next year to go get a guy like Max Crosby or something to that degree, while we talk about trades real fast. If you can get Myles Garrett for the right price, and by the right price I mean please do not make me give up a first round pick this year. If I can avoid giving up a first round pick this year for Myles Garrett, I would love to have Myles and Mr. Sweat opposite each other. And while we speak of Sweats, Philadelphia, They're going to be losing a lot of players because of their championship status. Josh Sweat is a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, linebacker converted to defensive end, and had quite a season for himself, and he will be leaving. While he is not the prototype edge rusher, they do have other players on the team that others might fancy more for the Bears, if only for the productivity and to be able to refer to Sweat and Sweat coming off the edge. And I mean coming hard off the edge. I don't think you can get anything better than that for free agent desires to sign me one or to trade for one. So, with that right there, moving on and grooving on, we will not say anything else, because what else could we really say? I will talk to everyone next week when we will find more people to toss down the pit. We will have a rapid fire mailbag. I'm pretty sure in the upcoming weeks, Shy Guy Ty will have more of a rabbit hole for us to dive into, and Mr. Blue Facts will undoubtedly have a time when we can sit back and listen to him spit nothing but the facts. And so, like, share, subscribe, comment. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what we can do to do better on the page. Tell me how you think we can be better fans to one of the best teams that anybody has ever seen. It's my favorite team, and I know we got the same dream for the same means. Until next time, catch us later on. Catch me. Thank you guys for pulling up. We're going to see how this plane continues to fly. We are out. Mail it in. Email the show. Let us know what you want to talk about. Fan up and fan out. Keep your fandom going. We'll talk to you later on. Postman got some deliveries to make up.